Welcome to Horns Up. I'm Animesh.
And I'm Peter.
And yes, it's our last episode for the year 2021, and that means it's not just time to be back in a Starbucks, not just time to be doing this face to face, but it's time to take stock of what we've been listening to this year and compile our picks of 2021. Peter, how was the year for you?
Wow, that's a tough one, honestly, especially to be talking about this on the last day of the year. But ups and downs, man. I mean, like, there were part of the year where I was like, this is absolutely shit, and it's like even worse than 2020. And then there were other parts of the year where I was like, can it get better than this? Or is like this the peak? But yeah, man, it's been a very, very weird year. Like, I wish there was consistency. And I think, unfortunately, earlier we were so used to like consistent. You knew that, okay, this month of the year, this kind of stuff is happening. They say you couldn't predict anything.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if that's one thing that this year has taught me is expect the unexpected. Like, don't freaking think that tomorrow is going to be this. Just enjoy as much as you can.
Embrace uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's as cliche as you want to say, but yeah, man, I mean, it's kind of changed my outlook on life in a way, and just the way I want to lead life. And I know this is not like the best way to start an episode like this, but hey, this is always what happens before we do our year-end episodes. And I think when I was reflecting back, right, the music I listened to, first of all, you had the Spotify Wrapped, which highly kind of
skewed your
which everything I was listening to, like, can you believe Metallica was one of my top 5 artists? And the only reason is because I listened to so much Metallica because we did so many Metallica episodes. But when I was looking through all the other music, I was like, wow, this is weird, and it's all over the place. Like, I think from the 3 years we're doing this is like the strangest year I've compiled music together. But that's all about me. What about you, Animesh?
Pretty much similar vibes as such. The year didn't start off on the right notes for me, and the first half of the year was some of the darkest times I've lived through. It's picked up since then, no doubt. Shout out to my girlfriend, now fiance, Karen.
Big news in the Horns Up camp.
Oh yeah, I have to start calling the Melvins up again.
Oh yes, it finally happened.
But yeah, largely, as I said, this has been one of the most weirdest years for me since we started doing this on Horns Up. Musically, I just didn't take the time to find, discover, or listen to new music, like fresh mal. Didn't do that a lot. I kept largely to bands and musicians that I've followed and to an extent been a fan of, the sounds that I already know, always reaching for the familiar and the popular, hence. Right, that means I didn't really challenge myself this year. But hey, a lot of the music I did listen to ended up being a space where I could just zone out to, especially when I really needed to. And that's what kind of has you'll see that in my picks this year, because there's not too many underground picks at all. It's a lot of the popular stuff. It's a perfect here. No. I'm not even going into the judgy area, but I think it's the best way to kind of, for me to make sense of this year in some manner.
Yeah,
where music was largely used to just tell me that, hey, at least when there are uncertain times, you can be sure of your favorites.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, when I was thinking back, I was like, why the hell did we do so many episodes on Metallica? And it's weirdly enough, it's not just the episodes, and I was prepping for that, but I have to give a huge shout out for the whole Metallica 40 concerts that they did. Dude, I was that teenager again discovering Metallica, watching those shows. I don't know if you had a chance.
No, I haven't.
I was watching the second one I managed to catch, of all days on a Monday. I caught the second one while it was happening, of course, in the Chase Center. And I was just engrossed for that 1 hour or so that they were playing. It made me feel like a teenager. And at one point, like, I actually picked up my son and I'm like, yeah, you need to check this out. And well, I hope somewhere down the line he does listen to them. But yeah, I think that's the optimistic side of me.
Okay, cool. Yes, Metallica talk again on Honsap. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on what you're saying, right? I have to give a huge shout out to Anders from this band Nasum. I mean, Nasum as a band has not existed in like 17 years
Mm-hmm.
after their frontman and guitarist Mizuko passed away. But in this last year, he's gone and found like rehearsal tapes of theirs, old videos on VHS and stuff like that, and digitized it and put it online. And you talked about that familiar thing, right? It was like me discovering Nasum all over again. I was like, wow, this is so cool. Uh, I'm really enjoying this. And as somebody who's been a fan for many years, to now listen to these like scratch recordings or just bass and drum recordings is something else. You're just like, wow, so this is what the tracks were really like. So huge shout out to Anders, man. I hope he continues doing it because he calls it the Nasum Vault and puts up
Okay.
stuff on Bandcamp. And yeah, it's fucking great. That's one of the things I've been enjoying throughout the year.
Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah, cool. Okay, so coming back to our 2021 picks, taking cues from what we did last year, we're going to basically do this in 3 parts. We are first going to run through our non-metal picks. Yes, we listen to other stuff besides metal too, so let that not come as a surprise to anyone. And after that, we'll get into honorable mentions as such, and then do a ranked 10 to 1 kind of a thing for our metal picks. Yeah, so let's just begin with the non-metal lists. We were discussing this earlier, and it was so weird that I initially I thought it'll just be like 3 albums or 4 albums or something of that sort, but I ended up like listing 10 albums.
Yeah.
And then Peter, you were like, hey, how many are we doing? And I said I've got 10 albums, and you were like, oh, that's a relief. And I wasn't expecting to hear that either. But
yeah, dude, because it's so weird, right? Like when you said 5, I was like, huh. And then I was like, okay, can I push it to 7? I'm going to break the rules. And then like, you said 10. I'm like, how perfect. There's more than enough for me.
cool. So Peter,
I was going to say
have you
rock, paper,
ranked?
scissors.
have you ranked your non-metal list?
No.
Oh, I ended up ranking mine. Like everything for me is ranked.
I'm
Yeah.
doing alphabetic because there's no way. It's like comparing apples and oranges, honestly.
Yeah, it is, but whatever.
Okay.
Go for it. Why
Okay.
don't you begin?
All right. So alphabetic order. First up is Blackstrat Blues with Hindsight is 2020.
Fuck, I didn't even know there was a new Blackstrat Blues album.
Dude, it's a good one. And I
Yeah.
think it's one of those albums that you can just zone out to. Like you can
Cool.
just like.
I'll be checking that one out.
And one thing I liked, I mean, it's all instrumental, no vocals on this album compared to the others. You can just kind of zone out and listen to it while you're driving.
Is this the one that has like the kid's voice and everything on it?
Ha,
Or was that the
this-
previous album?
This has also. He has his daughter.
Okay.
But
So this is not that first album which had those
No,
things.
no.
Because I remember listening to that.
yeah, this is a new one.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, so that is Blackstrat Blues, which is also the name of Warren Mendonça, who's now New Zealand based. Okay.
Good
next
for
up,
him.
Next up, I'm waiting for a reaction for this, but we had this discussion, Animesh. Deaf Haven, Infinite Granite.
Okay, it's not on my non-metal list.
It is on mine, but I think we've had this discussion.
We've had this
so,
discussion. Cool. Yeah.
Next up is an Estonian, I put them post, whatever you call it, band. It's called Kaun, and it's an album called Ice Fleet.
Okay.
And what's really cool about this album is that it's based on the true story
Mm-hmm.
of an unidentified fleet of ships which were discovered in 1930 in the northernmost part of Russia.
Wow.
Which
Okay.
is
Concept album.
Yeah, which is completely frozen
Uh-huh.
under the permafrost with crew and passenger bodies preserved.
Wow.
basically, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I'm telling you again,
That's a good
another
concept.
album. Yeah,
How is
another,
this not a metal album?
when you hear it, you'll know.
Okay, cool.
Trust me, it's just one of those things. And I mean, they started out as sort of like a folk post band, but now they've just completely like moved into that space where it's not really metal for me. Next up again, which shouldn't be a surprise to you, Limp Bizkit still sucks.
I have that on my list too.
So I'm like, I don't think we need to describe or even talk about, but hey, all of us 90s, 2000s kids who got into metal.
Yeah, if you're missing Limp Bizkit in your life, check this one out because it's actually a decent album.
Yeah.
And it's so short that you won't like really mind that you wasted only 30 minutes of your time on it.
Exactly. Next up, and this is something which honestly, if you told me like at the start of the year would be on my list, I'd be like, what are you talking about? So it's an artist named Megha Rao, who's a spoken word artist.
Yeah.
And she released a book called Teething. So as a preview for it, she put out a 4-track EP.
Mm-hmm.
And she took basically stories from that and put it to music.
Okay.
And it is so cool. Like, I'm not somebody who's into spoken word and that whole thing, but just the way she delivers it and she's put together the whole thing with the production and all, it's like something else. Like,
cool.
It's something where I think if you told me last year that, hey, you'll have a spoken word kind of album on your list, I'd be like, yeah, you're joking, right? But hey, that's 2021 for you. Coming to a familiar sounds and something that I was telling you. So here's, I have to give a huge shout out to Andy Dowling from Lord for this, because he got me into this band called Nester from Sweden and their album Kings in a Ghost Town. Now this is like proper 80s pop metal.
Okay.
Not like Def Leppard and all, but this is like the good stuff. And it's so 80s. They got Samantha Fox to do guest vocals on one of the tracks.
That's cool.
So, I mean, it is so fucking awesome. Perturbator, Lustful Sacraments. I mean, what a fucking album.
I haven't heard it, but I've been told like it's not his old school sound, right?
Yeah.
It's like a new interpretation of his sound or a new evolution of his sound.
And that's the cool thing I like about Perturbator is that he just fucking keeps pushing. Like, you'd think that, you know, that whole synth wave kind of thing, he's going to stick into that. Yeah, he just keeps fucking changing. So I really enjoyed that. This is a band that actually, the next one, which is Sleep Token.
Okay.
This place will become your tomb, sorry. If you look at them, you'd think they're like a metal band. And then you hear that guy's vocals. The thing is, you have no idea if it's one person or 4 people or 5 people because it's an anonymous band and they don't do interviews or nothing. But I found myself so hooked onto just the vocals, and it's so driven by vocals, right? Which is strange because I'm a guy who enjoys the guitars. But yeah, man, what a fucking album. Beautiful. I really enjoyed it. And rounding up my picks, which is the last one, is the Armed Ultra Pop.
I've seen that album on a lot of metal lists.
Yeah,
how come it's not on your metal list?
Because you'll see what's on my metal list. Because my metal list is so populated. And it's weird because these guys, like, I mean, of course, like, it's, how do you say? Like, it's that whole glitchy, hardcore punk kind of thing.
And so I've only been reading descriptions because I've been going through these metal lists, and everybody says that the Armed is basically a band that keeps on shifting its sound as such per album, and this is the album in which they decided to do something metal, which is why it piqued a lot of interest. Again,
I think this is like that fine line that it kind of put in there for me.
Like the sound of metal versus actually being metal.
Yeah. Right? And see, the cool thing is you have no fucking idea who's in the band, right? So I think this is one of the things where I suddenly realized that a lot of the music I'm listening to, you have no idea who these people are. And this is just in my non-metal list. But that's my picks.
For your non-metal albums. Yeah. So for me, I'm pretty sure you've heard of all of these artists on my non-metal list. And a lot of them are influenced not just by what I like listening to, but sounds that I've been subject to because of Instagram Reels.
Wow.
I'm still not on Instagram, but I'm spending a lot of time with somebody who is. And it just... some of that shit is catchy as fuck, man. So
wow. Is Badshah on your list?
No, thankfully, no. Those kind of things just get skipped over scrolled over. So yeah, huge shout out to Karen again for basically influencing a lot of my non-metal picks. Starting off with Ronin with Kyoto Inferno. Thanks
Yeah.
to Anurag for bringing that album to
Yeah, that was a good one.
yeah, for announcing that album to us as such. That's for those of you who don't know what or like who a Ronin is. It's not the Marvel character we're talking about. We're talking about Shazan. You remember an old band called Sohak, an Indian band called Sohak? Well, you remember Shazan from there, the guitarist. It's
And Providence,
yeah, and of course Providence. Yeah, but yeah, like Providence to me is a later thing,
Yeah,
right? For me,
true.
it's the Zohak days and his Dave Mustaine and Iron Maiden
Of
fanboyism, right?
Fuck that sound guy. Come on.
Yeah, exactly, right? So Ronin is his synthwave kind of a project and beautiful EP. Check it out when you
Yeah,
can.
and a quick thing is he just got signed to
Oh, really?
a label. So yeah, 2022, we're gonna hear a lot more music from him.
Oh, that's great. Coming in at number 9 is Olivia Rodrigo with Sour.
I heard one song, dude. One
Dude,
song.
Olivia Rodrigo, I just checked. She is Times Entertainer of the Year.
Yeah, she's all over the place, and I had no
Yeah.
idea who the fuck she was.
Next big like breakout pop star. Definitely catchy as fuck songs. Number 8, I have Limp Bizkit with Still Sucks. No
Fuck
surprises
yeah.
there. Number 7 is an album that I discovered pretty recently. It's by a band called Aerosol. The album's name is Murmurations. This is a band that is basically like a super group of sorts. It has Sean Reinhardt. One of the last projects he played.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah. So that's what led me to check it out, and it has a lot of the things in it that made Cynic really cool. So it was a pretty like
How do
easy
you
pick
compare
for
it
me.
to Aeon Sport?
Similar but different.
Okay.
Yeah. Next up is probably one of the most listened to albums over the world this year, Ed Sheeran's new album, which is called Equal.
Wow.
I love this. So here's the thing, right? I actually like Ed Sheeran, but I think he does a genuinely good job of writing his own songs, right? And if you've not seen Yesterday the movie, I think that's a fantastic role like that he's essayed in it, in which he basically plays himself
Yeah.
to a degree. So yeah, this collection of new songs, it's different from his earlier works. Fuck, I'm sounding like an Ed Sheeran expert, but I'm not. Okay, I'm not. It's decent music. It's good music. Yeah, let me not short sell it. It is good music, and I love. I was reading this one very snarky review that basically summed up Ed Sheeran's songs in a beautiful manner, and I just have to share this, even though I think this will be his lasting legacy on the world, like eventually with his music, which is Ed Sheeran basically gives a voice to all the males who cannot articulate love or anything to do with feelings.
Wow. That's a good one.
That's a beautiful line, right? Yeah. So check that one out. Number 5, Poppy.
Not surprised.
Fan. Yes, she did a brilliant show. She's done quite a few releases in 2021. The ones that I really like listening to were she did an EP called Eat, and there was an EP separately for WWE's NXT show. Good stuff. Check it out. Number 4 is a weird pick because it's actually a soundtrack. But it was Joel West's soundtrack for Shang-Chi, the Marvel movie.
Wow, yeah. I actually
What
enjoyed
a
that.
fucking beautiful soundtrack. I loved it. Like,
I need to check that out.
yep, it's just like the movie is great,
Yeah.
but the soundtrack really, 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 really made it for me. Coming in at number 3, shouldn't surprise you at all. Devin Townsend with Snuggles.
Oh wow. I just haven't had the thing to listen to it.
So if you haven't had the time to listen to it, what I would suggest is instead of listening to it, why don't you pull up the YouTube video, which is basically like the album's visualizer, and just put it on instead of watching Cobra Kai on like at midnight.
Got it.
Whatever. Yeah. Beautiful. Like you're zoning out. This is the best way to do it. And then at number 2 and number 1, oddly enough, are really good rock bands, which I've discovered this year. At number 2 comes there's a band called Dirty Honey with
Okay.
an album called Dirty Honey.
All right.
And at number 1 is a band called Crownlands with
Oh yeah.
a beautiful EP called White Buffalo. These two bands, they interchange number 1 and number 2 all throughout. They are the bands who are making proper, good, old school rock and roll, but doing it with contemporary production, etc. Excellent songs. If like a big name band put out this kind of music, they'll be the biggest thing on planet Earth. But these guys aren't yet the big name bands as such. So
And Crownlands, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was on Universal in Canada.
they
I
had.
think because I
This
got
isn't
the
their
release.
this isn't their first release, right?
Mhm.
And they had a debut release in 2020, and in 2021 is when they've put out this EP. And this, oh my god, that it's fantastic. Just listen to them. I mean, even if you like, clearly this is not a metal list, but if you
This-
just like hard rock music,
This is
this is fucking awesome.
this is the non-metal list that metalheads would like.
Definitely enjoy, especially these two bands. Metalheads will definitely enjoy it. It makes for excellent like road trip music too. Yeah, so cool. So those were our non-metalists out of the way. Let's talk some metal.
Okay.
Okay,
How are we
so
doing this?
how are we doing this? Let's run through numbers 20 to 10. I don't know, have you ranked your honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
same here.
that's basically why you made my life easier by
Cool,
saying
cool,
that let's
cool,
just
yeah.
rank them.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've ranked our lists as such. What we'll do is each one of us will just run through our 20 to 10s. And then after that, we'll start revealing our numbers 10 to 1s one by one. Sounds okay, Peter?
Sounds good to me, man.
Cool. So you want to do your numbers 20 to 10 first?
Okay.
Sorry, numbers 20 to 11 first.
Yeah. All right. Coming in at number 20 is Bad Wolves, Dear Monsters. Now, honestly, this is pop metalcore because it's got like these catchy, hooky choruses
Wow,
and
you
stuff.
liking metalcore?
Well, trust me, for me, like Killswitch Engage, I really enjoy.
So it's good metalcore.
Yeah. And this is like that itch that Killswitch Engage left this year, and this scratches
cool.
kind of that. I really like the new vocalist, Daniel D.L. Lekivsky. He was formerly of the Achaeus Strain. Now, I must put a warning to this album. When I saw the artwork, I was like, seriously, guys? Like, you're such a huge production and everything, and that's the artwork you put out.
Mhm.
So I'm just putting a disclaimer. This is an album that should not be judged by the artwork.
By the artwork. Okay.
Just like listen to it and check out the videos if you have to.
cool.
Coming in at 19 is Hypocrisy Worship. I'm a
yeah.
huge Hypocrisy fan, and I was really glad that they put out.
Yeah, this
an
was a
album
good
this
album. Yeah.
So for long-time fans, I don't think like Worship will let down fans.
Absolutely.
But what's really cool I found is, considering their whole sci-fi and extraterrestrial theme and stuff like that, the band launched a vinyl copy of the album on the release date into space, which I thought was fucking cool. I mean,
hey, it's the year of launching everybody into space.
Yeah,
Why not
so
a
why
metal
not, yeah.
vinyl album? Yeah.
coming in at number 18 is Fear Factory Aggression Continuum.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's easily one of the most talked about metal releases in the past few years,
Yep.
especially among all the gossip sites
Yep.
who wanted to put like air everyone's dirty laundry. But after all of that, I must say fucking Dino Cesaris delivered. Like, I'm so glad they went with the actual drum sound because it fucking sounds great. And like when I was listening back to it in the last few months, I was just like, fuck.
It's catchy as fuck, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such
it's
a
such
good
an
release.
energetic album.
Yeah, like I feel that this is after years, like they finally did justice to themselves.
Yeah.
And we fucking got to talk to Dino this year. So
Yeah, that was cool.
that was
Yeah.
fucking cool. Number 17, Rivers of Nihil, The Work.
The Work. Wow. Yeah, that was
And
a
this
good
is like
album.
one
yeah.
of the first prog picks I have of the year, which I was kind of surprised. I mean, what's cool about this album is there are so many different elements that on each listen you're kind of discovering something new. And honestly, this is one of those albums that I feel have to be heard as an album. Like,
Yes, it is
it's
an
so
album. Yep,
properly
yep.
well arranged and things like that. You can't listen to a single and judge this album. So definitely one of those albums that kind of reinforce the idea of why albums exist in a time like 2021. Coming in at number 16 is Heavy Sentence, Bang to Rights.
I've got that one on my
Fucking
list.
good old heavy metal from UK. And
Yep.
fuck, man. I mean, we spoke to the guy.
Yeah.
So it's a fucking awesome in there. Another heavy metal pick I got at 15 is Heavy Temple, Lupi Amoris. And
That was, yeah.
I mean, I listened to the album so much more in recent months, and fuck, I still can't believe like it's their debut album, right? Because they sound so much more mature, and I guess that's where the kind of EP helped them. More underground music at number 14 is a band called Crypts of Despair.
Okay.
And very aptly titled is their album All Light Swallowed.
Okay.
Huge shout out to Kunal Choksi from Transcending Obscurity for actually releasing this stuff. I mean, it's a band from Lithuania. And the only way I can describe it is it's dark and suffocating death metal, hence the name. But it's just so fucking good. Like, you know, it's I wish like more people kind of heard music like this. And in a year like 2021, these are one of the albums that during the dark times I was like, fuck, like this is it. Number 13 is a band that this year really surprised me in there. And it's a band from Gothenburg, Sweden. Now, when you read or hear the name Gothenburg and then you read Michael Stan from Dark Tranquillity, you just think melodic death metal.
Yep.
But this is totally the opposite. This is fucking old school death metal.
Okay.
And this year they put out an EP, which was Madness Comes,
Okay.
which really whet my appetite because I was like, fuck, why are they only releasing 4 songs? And then bam, they put out an album also, which is Into the Maw of Death. So I really enjoyed that one.
Okay. I haven't even heard of this project. Sorry. Yeah.
Number 12, which is another Transcending Obscurity release. And this band, I was really looking forward to releasing an album. It's a band named Imperialist. And the
Yep. This one I heard.
album is Zenith. I mean, I don't even listen to a lot of black metal, but fuck, this is like sci-fi team death metal.
Yeah.
And the artwork is so fucking great. Like that's what I love is that.
Yeah. Shout out to Kunal for getting these bands to do really good packaging.
Yeah. I mean,
Like all his roster, he's got gems on there.
yeah, and yeah, definitely. I mean, like this is an album that you want to buy, like, you know, the vinyl in all different.
Yeah. We need to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. If Casey, if you're listening.
Yeah.
But moving on to number 11, and this is so fucking weird. This would have kind of gone into the top 10 just if I had heard it much more. But this is a band called Atria Billis.
Okay.
Now, I first came to know about them last year, again through Kunal and Transcending Obscurity, because he released their EP Divinity. And they're a Canadian band. So the album is Apex Apian. And I'm telling you, just in this 1 year, the way that they fucking progressed. I mean, this takes their sound to a fucking different level. I mean, again, I'm not like huge into that technical thing, but this is like technical, but at the same time fucking brutal. Like this is not that, you know, that kind of sound, right?
Cool,
that
got
everyone
it.
kind
It's
of.
not. It's not like full on wankery then.
Yeah. And this is just fucking brutal. It's 30 minutes death metal. Like this is the stuff that you want to just like when you're pissed off and fucking you want something aggressive. This definitely gets there. And huge shout out to fucking $20 Spin. I mean, like for me, $20 Spin has become that label that anything they release, I'll just buy blind.
Yeah.
Because they just fucking put out such great music. So that was my number 20 to 11. Over to you, Animesh.
Okay, cool. I've got a couple of the same projects, but in different slots, maybe. Let's see. Number 20, Hooded Menace, the Tritonus Bell. That's clear dead doomy kind of an album, which I guess a lot of people have on their lists too.
I just haven't spent enough time with it.
Okay,
honestly.
cool. Yeah, check that out. Then at number 19, Cerebral Rot.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, which had a beautiful album called Excretion of Mortality. And that is like death metal the way death metal is supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Excellent artwork. Go and check it out. Number 18, I got Fear Factory in as well. Aggression Continuum. as we talked, it's catchy as fuck.
Yeah.
Number 17, weirdly enough, actually not weirdly enough, but I'm surprised that I ended up enjoying it so much, is Godless's States of Chaos.
Yeah.
I think the gig helped.
Yeah, that's the thing,
Yeah,
right?
right?
Like,
That was the only metal gig I've been to this year.
that was the second metal gig I'd been to
Ooh,
this year.
experience, man.
Twice as much as you.
100% increase in attendance and stuff. Whatever. But yeah, shout out, man. Like, I hope they get to do whatever they want to do in 2022, and full power to them. Number 16, I think we need to get this band on. Wolf Tooth released another album this year.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, they've been one of the super underground bands that have been so consistent in releasing music. They've got a new album out called Blood and Iron. It continues a lot of the style that they adopted in the previous album. And to be honest, I've like barely listened to it like maybe 3 or 4 times, and that it's good enough for me. It's exactly where I'm expecting the band to go. We need to chat with them because I've like,
Yeah,
if
definitely.
they've released an album, it's been on my year-end list at some level.
Done.
So the new Wolf Tooth comes in at number 16. At number 15, another band that I'm a huge fan of, Indian band. It's Cryptos's Force of Danger. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like, it's not as good as the previous album was. A lot of people are saying that, but hey, go fuck yourselves. It's Cryptos. They found a sound that they're excelling at. I'm still in 2 minds about going to the gig in January 2022, but if not, then definitely sometime soon. And Nolan, yeah, we'll definitely get you back on the pod at some time.
Or we'll just host them in Bombay.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll
fuck
just
it.
host them in Bombay. Yeah.
As selfish as we want to be.
Exactly. Number 14 is Dream Troll with Realm of the Tormentor. This is a very fun band. We reached out to them, but they never got back to us. Your music is really good. That's why you're on that's why you're on my picks of 2020. At number 13, this is a band called Unrequited with an album called Beautiful Ghosts. For fans of Death Haven who are complaining that the latest album, Infinite Granites, wasn't metal enough for you, then probably check out Unrequited, because they do that sound but do it a lot more heavier than Death Haven do. Excellent to zone out to. Beautiful artwork, not your traditional metal artwork. Don't judge a book by its cover. It's metal.
Yeah.
Number 12. I'll tell you why it surprised me. And when I say the name, you'll get it too. It's Cannibal Corpse's Violence Unimagined.
Wow.
Yeah, right. You're reacting to it. I didn't know it was going to be on my year-end list when I first listened to it. But it's by far the most popular death metal album of this year.
100%.
And yeah, it like between that and Cerebral Rot, these were my go-to death metal albums as such. Okay, coming in at number 11, this is an album that's been getting a lot of press, and somebody just ordered steamed whatever, or maybe the machines are being cleaned at Starbucks. Anyways, coming back to number 11, this is an album that's been getting a lot of mainstream press and a lot of coverage this year, and it's on a lot of metal year-end lists too. I'm talking about Converge and Chelsea Wolf's Blood Moon 1, which suggests that there will be a Blood Moon 2, and that these two artists will be collaborating more in the future. It's exactly what you would think of if, like, when you think of the word Converge and when you think of Chelsea Wolf. It's depressing, but at the same time, yeah, it's a good album to zone out to.
I have an idea, by the way. I just realized there's so many albums I haven't heard that I think in January I'm going to do a list of stuff from 2021 that I missed out on completely. Like, personally,
that's a good idea. Like, even just between our lists.
Yeah,
right. We'll easily have albums that we haven't heard. So yeah, that was my 20 to 11. So let's get into it. Let's not wait any longer. Let's start off with number 10. So we'll do this again at the count of 3 at the same time. We'll start revealing albums at the same time. Okay.
Cool.
So number 10s, 1, 2, 3.
Harakari
Death
for the
Haven,
Sky. Oh,
Infinite
man.
Granite.
It's so strange, right? We have very similar picks at number 10. For different reasons, obviously.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Why didn't I spend time on the Harakiri album? Maybe because it was one of the very first few big albums that released in the year. I think I completely forgot about it.
And
Thanks
that's
for
a problem.
reminding me. Yeah.
And that's a problem with what's happened this year, right? Like I can actually divide this year, and like what I was saying earlier, in like probably at least three parts. Like the start of the year, I remember a lot. I've just forgotten totally. So
I don't remember the start of the year at all.
Yeah.
Def Haven continues to remain a metal band for me. This probably isn't their heaviest output, but it's really good music. And like I have done this too. I can put on this music at like a party and stuff, and people don't really get offended until the fifth or sixth song comes in, which is a good sign for Def Haven, mind you.
This album was actually on my Spotify Wrapped, the album I've listened to the most. And I'm telling you,
Infinite Granite.
I just listened to it so much.
It's beautiful, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's one of those things where, you just get lost in it.
Yeah, completely.
And similarly with Harakari for the Sky.
Yeah, that's an album that you can get lost in too, but I think I forgot about it because I realized that it needed more effort than Def Heaven album would. Yeah, like the Harakiri for the Sky album, it's a beautiful album, but you have to be attentive to it.
And I think for me also, you have to be in that kind of mood for it, because you can't listen to the Harakiri for the Sky album I can't listen to it, say for example, when I'm playing with my son. There's no way I can listen to that. Okay,
cool. So number 9.
3, 2, 1.
Mastodon, Hush 10 Grin.
Wow. I did not like the
You didn't like it?
album. I know.
Fuck, but it's so like, it's a return to roots for Mastodon, even though it's bloated as fuck. I mean, they shouldn't have put out a double album. Well, they're not calling it a double album, but it is a double album. You can easily chop it off and only listen to the singles, but it's a return to form, man.
I think that's the thing, like with the album, right? And I don't know who was I talking to about this, but like singles, sometimes I just feel that metal bands should just stop releasing singles now, because it just fucking ruins the whole thing. Like after I heard the singles, I wasn't too keen on listening.
Oh really? The singles were a perfect representation. Like the singles were really the best songs on that album.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you know my relationship with Mastodon and what I've told you about it. So, but since having you said that, dude, for me, Godless had to crack the top 10.
Really?
I mean, from the first track itself, Malevolent, you knew this is no bullshit. I mean, like, I remember talking to Abbas from Godless June, July of the year, because they had already kind of wrapped up a lot in there, and he's like, dude, this is our most pissed off fucking release.
And so one of those,
it's
I agree with you.
This is like 32 minutes of death fucking metal. I mean, like, I can give this to anybody and they would not know it's an Indian band. They'd fucking
definitely
say that this is a fucking great release in death metal. And just considering the state we're in with death metal, right, around the world, this is fucking a great release. So there you go.
Cool. Number 8. 1, 2, 3.
Ad
Spirit
Nauseam.
Adrift.
Oh wow.
Forge Your Future. An EP, but
that's the reason I left it out. That's the only reason.
I left it in because it continued the excellent form, and I remember we were talking about this last year about how the new Spirit Adrift sound, or the evolution of the Spirit Adrift sound, is a sound that works for me a lot, and I love the fact that they're continuing with the sound. They've got only 4 songs on the new EP, but it's just so fucking good.
No, I totally agree. I mean, like, I really enjoyed it, and the only reason it's not on my list, because I was like, you know what, there's so many fucking great albums. I have to kind of fucking there. But dude, can you believe I didn't have Spirit Adrift? I don't have Spirit Adrift on my list.
Wow, at all?
Yeah, because it's an EP. That's
okay, fine.
Reason.
That's cool.
That's the only reason. But Ad Nauseam, I mean, fucking twisted death metal. It released like, I think in April, but dude, I still can't fucking wrap my head around the entire album. I mean, shout out to fucking Avant-Garde Music for releasing it, because I think it's very hard to top an album like this, especially, and considering, like, you know, I'm talking about it so many months later. And I must say another shout out to Arun from Moral Collapse, because I had got the promo and we were chatting about the Moral Collapse album, and he was like, so much in love with this album. I was like, okay, I have to check it, and then I totally understood what he was all about. So okay, let's do number 7, Gojira Fortitude.
Oh fuck, you have Gojira that low?
Because that's the kind of thing, and you'll realize why. Dude, I mean, I've talked in the media picks about Gojira, and fuck, dude. Again, it's still, like I said in July, that this will a high probability be on my year-end list, and it had to be there, dude.
Okay, number 7 for me is Crypta's Echoes of the Soul. Very weird,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Very weird. I wasn't expecting Crypta to be on any year-end list.
But it's a good
But
album.
It's a good album. It's better than the Nervosa album, and I'm totally adding fuel to the fire and comparing bands which are on the same label and stuff. But it is the better album amongst the two. So yeah, I've got Crypta, Echoes of the Soul at number 7, coming in at number 6. Ready? 3, 2,
Oh.
1.
Boss
Heavy
Keloid.
Sentence.
Wow.
Bang to Rights. I'm not surprised that Boss Keloid is there, because you had it in your mid-year picks as well.
Yeah.
Heavy Sentence for me, like you have it on your list too, but towards the latter end of your list. But whatever, just such a fun album.
Yeah.
It's the party metal album of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, for me, the staying power of the Boss Keloid album is that it's on my final list.
Uh-huh.
In the last 6 months, so much released, but I still go back to the album because I still don't fucking know what they're talking about in the album. I'm still trying to figure out on repeated listens.
Yeah, no, I get that. I still haven't attempted to listen to it. Again, that's something that requires a lot of effort
Yeah.
to do so. Heavy Sentence, on the other hand, no effort required whatsoever. Just pop it in. You're in for a very rollicking time. Especially if you like Motorhead, especially if you like old school
School.
metal, give this one a spin. You won't be disappointed at all. Okay, cool. Time for the number 5s, right? 3, 2, 1.
Between
Big
the
Brave,
Buried and Me.
Vital. Oh, okay, cool.
See, I'll tell you, Colors is one of my favorite.
I get
Albums.
that. Yeah.
Period. Whether it's
Uh-huh.
metal,
Yeah,
non-metal.
yeah,
I
yeah.
fucking heard that album. Like I can listen to it anytime. And I was a little worried, to be honest, when they announced Colors too, because I was like, how do you fucking top an album like
Uh-huh.
this, right? I mean, and it's again Between the Buried and Me. They've kind of done so much stuff. And honestly, I stayed away from listening. I was very happy that nobody sent me the promo for it because I didn't want to fucking ruin it. I just wanted to enjoy it as a fan. And man, I'm so glad I enjoyed it like this, because all my worries were allayed like the first listen itself. This is, if I have to put it in one sentence, 78 minutes of progtastic goodness.
Oh
You
yeah.
have no fucking idea what to expect the next end. And that's what I really enjoy about a band like Between the Buried and Me. You cannot predict what the fuck is going to come in the next
Absolutely.
30 seconds,
Yep.
let alone
Yep.
a minute. So yeah, and the reason why it's so high up on my list is because now Colors 2, I feel, is a worthy extension of the masterpiece that Colors is. And
Yeah.
I can't believe in all these years that we're doing the podcast, we haven't even discussed Colors once, because that's an
That album, I think,
fuck, dude. I am so glad.
we can do an all A's with it, no?
100%. Colors, right? Colors 2, it's exactly like what I was saying about the work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to listen to it the whole
From
thing.
end to end.
Like
Yep.
you can't listen, like you listen to it like 30 seconds or 1 minute or
Yeah.
whatever, listen to one song, you'll not get it. It's the whole mood, that everything that it settles. And like, I honestly, I'm saying this again, in 2021, if a band can actually challenge you to spend 78 minutes,
Hats off to them.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
I
why
think,
it's so high up on my list.
Similar, I think similar vibes for the Big Brave album too. Vital was just so heavy without it actually, like, I don't know, people will say that it's not metal, etc., whatever. It's an excellent heavy album. Listen to it, atmospheric as fuck. It was on my mid-year picks too, and it continues to be an album that I still spend time with. So yeah, number 5s are done. Moving into number 4. 3, 2, 1.
Cannibal
Amun
Corpse,
Ra.
Violence.
Dardoorn. Daydoorn. Sorry. Messed up my Dutch there. Okay. I'm not surprised that Cannibal Corpse is so high up on yours.
Yeah, dude. Fucking album, death metal album of the year. And whatever you say, you call Cannibal Corpse AC/DC of death metal and all. Fucking Eric Rutan, man, he just
So much new
infused
energy. Yeah.
so much new energy. And I mean, like I've been following Cannibal Corpse very actively since Rutan got involved with the production and all. And you had all the old school guys like, oh, he's fucked it up, metalcore, blah blah blah. Dude, the playing on this, man. I mean, like nobody can hold a candle to this. Honestly,
Absolutely
death
not.
metal album of the year for me, easy.
So Amun-Ra's Day Durn. I don't know if you've heard this album or not.
I can't remember, dude.
I don't. Yeah, I remember talking to you about it. I don't think you had at that point in time.
No.
I don't know if you've gone on and checked it out. But this is essentially storytelling through doom metal, and it's slow. It's immersive as fuck. Again, I don't know what they're saying. That doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
For an album of this kind, but again, it's a beautiful album to just lose yourself into. For me, this was the doom metal album of the year. I've revisited countless amount of times, and I think at some level, and shout out to Riju for this because you'll know where I'm coming from, Organ Troost, which is, I think, can be considered the lead single of this album, ended up being used by Malachi Black, who's a wrestler in AEW, as his entrance theme. So because it's being constantly repeated, like at least in stuff that I'm watching, maybe that's why I'm liking it a lot more too. So yeah, another connection between wrestling and music and metal.
Here we go.
It's time for the top threes. Top threes. Are you ready?
I'm nervous.
You're nervous. Why are you nervous, man?
Sure.
It's just a list. Okay. At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Green Lung,
Iron
Black
Maiden,
Hours.
Senjutsu.
Whoa, come on. No. Defend yourself, Animesh.
It's Iron Maiden. It's an album that I've spent a considerable amount of time listening to. Maybe, like I told you, right? That's the headspace I was in. I just wanted music that I was familiar with, and Iron Maiden delivered a fucking double album for me to splurge on. It may be considered by many as the spiritual successor to Virtual 11 and 10 and the X Factor as such, right? Because of the length of the songs and because of the long songs and whatever. It's an Iron Maiden album that I can still revisit and not surprisingly get bored of if I'm listening to it as an entire album.
So you want to know where Iron Maiden featured in
For
my
you.
Spotify Wrapped? Because I heard it so much while prepping for the album.
I don't know what, number 2, number 3
Yeah.
for you on your Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, because I only listen to a lot of this music on Spotify, right? Rest of it I'm listening to on Fubar or Winamp in there while prepping for.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, wow. I didn't expect Iron Maiden to be number 3 for you. But I don't think it should be a surprise why Green Lung is number 3 for me.
The Green Lung album was fucking good. Again, that's an album, weirdly enough, that I didn't spend a lot of time with.
Yeah, and I think
I ended up listening to it a bunch of times, and that was about it.
And I think for me, why it reached so high is because while I did enjoy the band's like stoner stuff and all, they kind of moved further away from it in the more catchy, heavy metal.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoyed listening to. I mean, like when I wanted familiar sounds, that's what I was going to. I was like, hey,
So you went with contemporary interpretations of familiar sounds. Well, I went at
Fair.
fucking old school familiar sounds itself. If it's not broken, why fix it?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, which brings us in to number 2 on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Moon
Cynic
Diorama.
Ascension Codes.
Wow.
Wow.
Can we hold this thought, please?
Okay.
Go to 1.
So wait. So are you saying that? Okay. So cool. We'll just go to 1 then. So number 1 album for you, Cynic Ascension Codes.
Yeah.
I am so proud of you. Thank you so much. High five.
I don't know why. I had a feeling this would happen. But okay,
The only reason. No, wait. Okay, cool. Let's talk Cynic. How come you have it as your number 1 for an album that just released around a month back, 2 months back, whatever?
I mean, dude, it's so hard to put into words. Like I was like thinking about it and kind of like,
And you didn't even like the single.
dude, that is the thing. And this is why I'm going back to my earlier statement. Metal bands should not fucking release singles. Like, don't do this. Because when I heard the single, I didn't get it. I was like, why? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. And then I got the album. And I still remember getting it, listening to it for the first time, messaging you, being like, oh my God. And I'm telling you, like, there's so many layers to each track in the album, right? And the reason why I say the single didn't work is the moment you heard it in the sequence it was meant to be in the album, I was blown. I was like, fuck, this sounds so much more, it makes so much more sense. And the way I've connected with the album, right, is it takes you on a trip. I don't think there's any other way to put it. It just takes you to a different kind of space. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do the whole thing of I connected it with on a spiritual level and all. But in the last couple of months, when I wanted to like just take the time out, listen to music, I'll just like automatically go and play it. And I fucking loved it. I know you're going to say, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can say that, you know, Paul went through a lot this year and things like that. But if you just take it as music, fuck, dude, I can't believe like an album like this. I never thought like 2 years ago or a year ago that an album like this would be my top one, but this is exactly how reflective of the year it's been. Like, this is the thing I want to listen to at the end of 2021. Like, this is the music that connects with me. I'm going to stop there. Go ahead, Animesh.
I've been a huge fan of Cynic, and I've been listening to a lot of Cynic through the year. Like not just Cynic, but even Paul Masvidal's individual albums, right? Mythical Human Vessel, MHV. So definitely I was stoked that a new Cynic album was going to be released. And I remember when the single first came out, the chat we were having, you, I, and friend of the podcast, eternal friend, Ravi Balakrishnan, both of you shat on the single. Yeah. And I was like, dudes, you guys just need to listen to it again. And I was defending it right from that go, because be it knowing the kind of story that Paul has gone through over the last couple of years and connecting to it at some sort of a level, or forget even those stories and just listening to the music itself, this album has managed to connect and help me with processing so many feelings that I didn't know that I previously kept aside, right? And this was the album that made me somehow do it. I don't know if that was the intention or if I'm just superimposing my thoughts on an album, etc., whatever. But it happened, and it only happened with this album. Actually, it happened with my number one too, to some degree, which I'll tell you about. But you probably can guess which one it is. Anyways, we'll get into that later. But Ascension Codes, fuck, there's just so much going on here, and there's so much that can be dissected. I honestly, Paul, like, we've been writing to you for months, and I know you may not want to talk to us, or you're not doing any press because, fuck, have you seen any Paul Masvidal interviews? You haven't, which is weird, right?
One.
No, apart from the interviews which he's done himself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, talk to us, man. We'll literally, like, I don't know if you want to or not, but we'd love to talk your brains out, because there's so much you can discuss in this album.
Yeah.
Right from the fact that you're not using an actual bass. Yes, there is no actual bass on this album. It's keyboard bass as such. To your lovely new drummer, maintaining the Cynic sound, to adding so many layers of, as Ravi calls it, whatever, Vipassana metal or something of that sort.
Yeah, but this, like, that's the thing, right? Like, and this is one of those albums you want to listen on an actual, like, good pair of headphones or a good system. Because
completely.
Otherwise, you're going to kind of lose a bunch of stuff. So, yeah.
So we haven't really spoken about your number two.
Are you surprised that that's my number two? Like,
I'm not.
If there was no Cynic album this year, that would have been my number one.
Uh-huh.
And Mool is like, fuck. Like, I've been a huge fan. I loved Jord, but Diorama was fuck, man. I liked the album, and then once we did the chat
Interview,
with,
I know, right? It
with
completely
Kim, it just
like I was literally that was the only album that I was like, because after the chat we went and like I went and listened back to it quite a few times, and that was the only album which I was like, I had a really tough time placing that album on my list, because as a piece of music I was looking at it objectively and it wasn't making it through, but once I knew all the context it was making it through, and I was like, that's not fair to the other albums, which is why I don't have Diorama on my list as such. But what a fucking, like, I'm telling you guys, if you don't like Mole, go back and listen to that album. Go back and listen to our interview, and then listen to the album.
I mean, like, that just made me look at the album in such new light. And then I'm like, you listen to it with kind of like new years of sorts, right?
Definitely.
And fuck, I've never made these lists as, oh my God, objectively, and this is this and that. For me, it's all about how I feel. And
Yeah.
like when I go look back at the last few years' releases, I can actually see like an actual shift in the way I listen to kind of music and the kind of music I listen to. I mean, I'm sure like 2 years from now, I'm going to listen to it and be like, wow, I really put Cynic in there. I mean, it's the same chat we were having earlier, right? About the spoken word part. I never thought, like, if you told me 2 years ago or 3 years ago when we started this that, you know, Cynic would be one of our topics, I'd have been like, really? Cynic?
No, it's weird because, see, this is what happens when you spend an inordinate amount of time with someone. Just by doing this podcast and the fact that we've been chatting to each other almost like 350 days out of 365 of a year. Yes, you begin to kind of think alike, etc., etc. So maybe that's why, like, that could, like, I'm not claiming it, but maybe that's why Cynic is their number one.
I'm not saying anything. Hey, Karen, if you're listening, not getting in that territory. Fiance is all you.
Likewise, Karen. No, I'm not getting into that territory either. Yeah, only the people who know us will actually realize that joke. Anyways, it's not the same Karen.
Oh yeah, not
Yeah,
the same
definitely. Cool. Guess my number one. It should be pretty much clear.
Oh shit, you didn't reveal your number one. I just realized
Yes.
that. Go for it.
Guess it, because it was the album that I said during my mid-year picks. I ranked it at number one, and I was like, "This is pretty much, I think, going to be my number one until
I
something
completely forgot.
until something really cool comes along."
Go for it.
Gojira's Fortitude.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought you'd have Gojira as number one.
It was a huge. So, for me personally, I think recently I've spent a lot more time with Cynic than I have with Gojira, but I did a couple of really long road trips in the recent past, and that's when I put on the Gojira album and the Cynic album again. And the Gojira album is just a perfect album that has been strong and consistent for a longer period of time than the Cynic album is. I mean, the Cynic album is a great album, but it's not for everyone. The Gojira album is for everyone.
And the Gojira album is the album that everyone's going to rip off for the next 2 years.
Exactly. I mean, what a fabulous collection of songs. I personally enjoyed Magma. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy Magma. A lot of people think that this is Gojira's, like, Magma was probably Gojira's
Black.
Not even black. Like, most people consider it their load. Well, whatever. Even if you think of that sort, yes, the heaviness has been dialed back in slightly. It's not the Gojira of old. I think they're evolving beautifully into probably this era's biggest metal band, biggest contemporary metal band.
And I'm surprised that they aren't bigger than they already are, dude.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised that they aren't bigger than they already are. What a fabulous collection of songs. And you can also take it from another lens, which is to say that if there was a metal band that's actually talking about that's actually using their music to talk about certain issues in the world at the moment, then I would probably say it's one of the most relevant musical bands of the last year too. just coming back to how it's essentially a record that will please almost everyone. You've got the really heavy stuff in there. You've got the really cool gimmicks and the guitar scrapes in there. You've got soundscapes which will just help you chill. You've got soundscapes that will make you think. You've got soundscape that will just give you the power of an Energizer Bunny. I don't think there's been any other album that's done it all so well. Like everything is bang on.
Yeah, and
I couldn't find a fault with it. I genuinely think we can, like, I would like to nominate this as an all A's, because why the fuck not? Which other Gojira album will you nominate as an all A's? L'Enfant Sauvage, maybe.
yeah, that's
Terra
on
Incognita, maybe. But I'm sure of this as an all A's.
Mr. Anurag Tagat. I hope you're listening.
And the fucker got to fucking talk to Gojira.
I know, like he can give us like he can have those bragging rights, and hey, at least he asked our questions, which is important. Thanks, Anurag. But wow, this is a trip. Episode is a trip itself.
Yeah. So many again. So let's take a look at both of our lists in isolation. Yes, this time we didn't have a lot of similar picks coming in at the same numbers.
Yeah.
Right. I think that was a huge surprise for us last year when we did that. But 2 points I'd like to make again. One, these lists definitely subjective to a degree. They represent the time where we are at. So
Yeah.
that is number one. And number two, the majority of the bands and music on this list is music that we've discussed on the podcast.
Yeah,
And
why
that should
else
come
would we
as
do?
no fucking surprise.
Why else would we fucking spend our weekends and all our time doing this podcast?
Podcast, right?
Okay.
So those were our year-end lists. I'm sorry we don't have Deepak or Chuck on to discuss live shows this time.
Because, it's
it's
2021.
It's 2021. Maybe we get to do it next year.
Who knows? Maybe next year will be the one where everyone's talking metaverse, right? Where you can enjoy concerts in metaverse.
Fuck.
Sorry, had to do it.
Ah.
But you want to do a quick roundup of our picks 10-1 again?
Cool. So Peter, have at it. List your 10-1 once again.
Okay, so coming in at number 10 is Harakiri for the Sky Mare. Number 9, Godless States of Chaos. Number 8, Ad Nauseam Imperative Imperceptible Impulse. Yeah, it's a mouthful. Number 7, Gojira Fortitude. Number 6, Boskeloid Family The Smiling Thrush. I hope I said that correctly. Number 5, Between the Buried and Me, Colors 2. Number 4, Cannibal Corpse, Violence Unimagined. Number 3, Green Lung, Black Harvest. Number 2, Mool Diorama. And number 1, Cynic Ascension Codes.
And for me, it was number 10, Deaf Heaven, Infinite Granite. Laugh at that as much as you guys want. It's my list. Number 9, Mastodon's Hushed and Grim. Number 8, Spirit Adrifts, Forge Your Future EP. Number 7, Cryptas, Echoes of the Soul. Number 6, Heavy Sentence with Bang 2 Rights. Number 5, Big Braves, Vital. Number 4, Amun-Ra's De Durn. Number 3, yes, Iron Maidens, Senjutsu. Number 2, Cynic with Ascension Codes. And at number 1, Gojira's Fortitude. So universally, Cynic is our, like, if Honsa was to do a combined list and give it points, etc., Cynic would be our number 1.
100%.
Wow, right?
Who would have thunk that?
Ravi, I know you're listening, so yeah.
Laugh all you want.
Laugh all you want. Those were our lists. Why don't you share yours? We'd be more than happy to have a look at it and laugh at you.
Like we're doing right now.
Write into us. We are at honsubpod.com or on Twitter at honsubpod. As always, I'm on Twitter at Asmoani.
I'm at Trend Crusher.
This was Hornsub. Have a safe 2022, guys.
Yeah. Safe and healthy 2022, man.
Yeah.